Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining today's webinar, Stayntouch Product Enhancements, version 5.50, Extend Allotment Reservations from Room Diary, Room Types Display According to Room Type Sequence, and more, presented by Stayntouch Implementation Consultant, Natasha Leck. I'm your host, Erin Fisher, the content writer here at Stayntouch. Today's presentation will cover how you can get the most out of the Stayntouch PMS version 5.50 product release. In this webinar, we will illustrate that the arrival report is now exportable by CSV, demonstrate how to extend allotment reservations from the room diary, explain that from the Stay Card room assignment screen, the room type drop-down lists room types according to room type sequence, explain that in the groups and allotments modules, room types are displayed according to room type sequence, highlight the new VAT per line item setting, and show that deposit rules are now displayed on the deposit balance screen. We will have a short Q&A session at the end of the presentation. Feel free to submit questions throughout the presentation, and we'll answer them in the order they are received at the end. And that's all I have right now. Natasha, I'm going to hand the presentation over to you.
Perfect, thank you. All right, thank you, Erin, for that introduction, and I will get started straight away. So the first item on the release list is that the arrivals report can now be exported to CSV, and I will show you how to do this. So from the menu button on the left-hand side here, I'm going to go into Reports and then New Report. From here, I will go to the arrivals report. And if I click on Run Report, this will take me to the report inbox. And from here, you can see, once this is loaded, that I am now able to download this report in CSV format. If I click on Download, you'll see here that this report is in CSV. It can also be scheduled to export to CSV. If I move into the menu, Reports, and Schedule a Report/Export, here on the right-hand side, I can click on New Report Schedule. If I go to the arrival report from here, at the bottom you can see that the file format is normally in PDF, can now also be put to CSV. And when clicking on this item appears where I can include the CSV header. And then this way we can schedule the report. The next item on the release is that the allotment reservation in the room diary can now be extended depending on the availability in the room block of the allotment. So if I move into the menu, Front Desk and Room Diary, in here I've created a reservation that is part of the allotment. If I click on this reservation and extend, you can see here that if I click Save Changes, if there is room in the allotment block, this will extend the reservation. If there's no availability in the allotment room block, an error will pop up. So if I now continue to extend the reservation, it'll say extension stay failed. Reservation arrival/departure date should be within the allotment from/end date. So depending on the allotment block, you can either extend the reservation now from the room diary. The next item from the release is that there's now a sequence assigned to the display of the room types. So I will first show you what it's like at the moment. I will go into my reservation. Get a pop-up for the deposit. And if I go into my room, you can see here that this is currently the order where you can see Standard Queen, Junior Suite, Parkview King, Standard Suite, etc. If I move into my settings, rooms, and room types, from here I can drag and drop the order. So I can say that I want to have, for example, the Junior Suite at the top, then the Standard Queen, and then the Standard King. This will update accordingly throughout the system. So if I now go back into my reservation, and I click on the room type, you'll see now here that the junior suite is first, and then the standard rooms, just as I have put in that order under the setting room type. This can be seen on an individual reservation, but also on group and allotments. So if I move into my menu, I go into groups and manage groups. I've created a group here. And you can now see that in the room block details, the order will display as well. So first the junior suite, and then the two standard standard rooms, my apologies. And also in the rooming list, when I want to add a room, you can see here now the room types have been listed accordingly as well. The same counts for allotments. So if I go into menu groups and then manage allotments, I've created an allotment here. Same under allotment details, you can see the junior suite is first, then the standard queen, standard king, etc. When I move into my reservations to add an extra reservation, the room types here display accordingly as well. The next item from the release notes is that to comply with legal requirements in certain countries, we've introduced VAT per line item, and I can show this here already. So if I go into my reservation, you can see when I move into my bill and charges and invoice, that this is currently the layout for the pro forma invoice. You can see here, date of charge, charge description, charge amount, credit amount with the room charge, occupancy tax for state and city. This is the way it's displayed at the moment. However, now you can turn on the VAT per line item under your settings, financials, and financial settings. We have the toggle here, VAT per line item. I'm going to toggle this on and say save changes. And now when I move into my reservation, and I go into my bill and charges, and I show you the pro forma invoice again, say print, you can see that new columns have appeared. The date of charge, quantity, charge description, unit, etc. Everything here will be added. Everything that is up here can also be translated if this is something that is required. The way that this has been set up, this VAT per line item, will show under the individual reservation for detailed bill items, and the pro forma invoice. So summary by charge code and summary by day have been excluded from this. This also counts for groups. So if I move into my group, I can go under transactions. And if I show you the pro forma invoice here, you'll see that this has been changed to VAT per line as well, with all the new columns that are attached to it. What is important to note for this setting is that VAT per line item and multi-currency should not be activated for the same property. All right, then the last item for the release notes is actually related to the deposit rules. So I will show you right now that in my reservation, if I go into, close this, deposit/balance here on the right-hand side, if there is a deposit rule attached to the reservation, this will now show here. So when an employee is working, they'll know the text that is related to the deposit requirement. All right, that is all for these release notes.
All right, thank you, Natasha. So I would now like to turn over the floor for questions. Remember, you can submit questions through the question box in the middle of the control panel. And I don't see any questions yet, so I'll give everyone a few seconds to enter those.
Perfect.
All right, I'm not seeing any questions, so I'd like to take to the floor to offer some final thoughts. All right. In this webinar, we illustrated that the arrival report is now exportable by CSV, demonstrated how to extend allotment reservations from the room diary, explained that from the stay card room assignment screen, the room type drop-down lists room types according to room sequence, explained that in the groups and allotments modules, room types are displayed according to room type sequence, highlighted the new VAT per line item setting, and showed that deposit rule details are displayed on the deposit balance screen. With that, I'd like to conclude our presentation. Thank you all for coming. And if you have any additional questions, feel free to email me at erin.fisher@stayntouch.com. Thanks again.
Thank you.